So I got the two halves apart. Here's the base. It's all apart now. I took a piece, I didn't core it. Well, I guess I cored it, but I just used the parting tool. Took a piece out of the inside rather than waste it. This is it here. I'm going to try to use that to make a little knob for the top of the candy dish. And it's got resin in it. The resin that went all the way into the inside to the core of the blank. So we know what we're dealing with. This is 5 inches. I believe it was 5.5 when we started. So I'm going to carry on with the lidded portion that we've taken off. And what I've got is a piece of maple flat stock, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this over on my disc sander, and I'm just going to touch this up. It's flat already, but it's got a couple little bumps in it I don't like, and I'm going to flatten off the face of this, and basically I'm going to glue the two together. And what I'm going to use the flat piece for is to make the lidded section that fits down into the bottom half of the bowl, so that we keep the nice smooth transition of the resin. So that's with the kerf, with the parting tool. By the time you put the lid and everything else on it, you end up removing at least another 1/8 of an inch of material. Maybe a little more, because you just got to true those two faces up to marry up to each other. I want to minimize that, so I'm going to offset them with a little rim between the upper and the lower, and I'll attach the rim, I believe, to the upper piece. I've got the lower one already trued up. I'm going to true up the upper one, have a look at it, set them on top of each other, and we'll go from there. So right now I'll true this up. The other one's already done. I did that when I cored the other piece out. Forgot to turn the recorder on, so that's why you didn't see it happen. Or you didn't see me part it either. I actually parted it off, parted the two apart with a handsaw when it was all said and done. Give that a light sand, fit it again. As you can see, we had a problem. The back side of my board is very rough. Fits up nice here, nice smooth joint. But when I want to put pressure on it to clamp it, to make sure that it's nice, it fits nice after gluing, this uneven surface and the surface I'm pushing with, that doesn't happen. So, of course, with the one-way chuck or one-way live center, we get this nice cone, which can be applied this way, or it can be put this way on the live center, like this. Or we have this cone that can go on as well. And like I mentioned before, we have this adapter. But I'm going to use this cone. And what I'm going to do is put it on sort of, well, you might think it's backwards, but it's not. What I'm going to do is, this is a little bit concave, so I'm going to put this up against here like this. A little bit of pressure on it. And what I want to do is basically center my blank of wood close like that. I'm just going to scribe my location like that. Put a little pressure on it. Pressure this way. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to true up this piece so it's nice and flat. Well, flat anyway out here. It only has to be flat here because the piece that's pushing up against it is already hollowed out, so this doesn't matter. I only need a flat surface for this area right here. Almost. So we have a nice disc. It's probably 5/16 thick. Just visually checking it. Measure it, see how close I am. Okay, how about a 1/4 of an inch? 1/4 of an inch thick now. I got something that nice and true now I can push against. It's also round. It's also got a mark for when I glue it on. And for that matter, I could glue it with the cone, right? But as you see, the cone is putting pressure out here, down in here. I need the pressure out here. So, as nice as it would be to use the cone, we're not going to. So there's our other bottom of our bowl blank. Or the bottom of our candy dish blank, whatever you want to call it. Put our adapter back on. And then we'll put our candy dish base back on. We know we got a nice joint here. Bring that back. Nice and smooth. Excuse me while I answer my cell phone. Hello. $20's fine. Okay. Thanks. Bye. Sorry about that. So I haven't got very much pressure on there. I'm looking at my joint. The joint's nice and tight. So that means we'll have a nice glue line. And I'm only going to glue it. Oh, decisions, decisions. I'm going to glue it to the top half. Decision made. Of course, you know I like epoxy. famous glue stick. The famous glove. Wax paper. Almost time for a new bottle, a couple of new bottles of epoxy glue. Let's do that nice little mix. So it's always easier to put the glue on the piece that's lying down flat. This is when they're plastic gloves. The gloves come in real handy. Lots of glue. Remember, glue is cheap. Takes longer to fix the project second time around than it does do it right the first time around. Spread that on there nice. Okay, life is good. All my distractions out of the way. So we're going to put that back in there like that. And just for giggles, line that back up, check my layout. That's lined up good. Tailstock's locked down. Put the squeeze on. Now the only other thing I do if by chance that we had a little tiny gap, and I didn't see when we fitted it, but you never know, by just working that epoxy in to that joint, we're sort of making sure that if there's any little gaps, we don't have to come back and fill it later. The only other thing I want to do now is come back around basically we're cleaning off the excess, but at the same time we're sort of working it into that joint. And we're going to turn that all off and finish it all up nice and pretty looking. Of course, we're going to clean our tools so we don't have to soak them in acetone later on. We'll let that dry and we'll have a look at it later on.